All right, let's talk about one of the greats, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Now, on the surface, it seems like a simple story, right? A boy and a runaway slave just drifting down a river on a raft. But let me tell you, it is so much more than that. It's this incredible deep dive into what's right, what's wrong, and what it really, truly means to be free.
We're kicking things off with maybe the most important line in the whole book. All right then, I'll go to hell. Just think about that for a second. These are the words of our hero, a young boy, as he makes a choice he fully believes will damn his soul for eternity. Why? For a friend. This single sentence is the absolute moral core of the novel, and today we are going to break down exactly how he gets to this unbelievable moment.
So first up, escaping civilization. You know, every great journey has to start with an escape. But for Huckleberry Finn, he's not just running from a person, he's running from an entire way of life, what he calls civilization. And you know what? His spelling might be more accurate than he thinks.
So here he is, Huckleberry Finn, our protagonist. And the thing about Huck is he just doesn't fit in. Not anywhere. He's a good kid, super practical, but he cannot stand society and all its rules. And when we meet him at the start of the story, he is stuck in a truly impossible situation. This right here perfectly sums up the two traps he's caught in. On one side, you've got the widow Douglas. She offers him a civilized life, full of rules, church, school, proper manners. Sure, it's safe, but for a kid like Huck, it feels like a cage. And on the other side, his own father, Pap. Pap's world is supposedly free, but in reality, it's just abuse, neglect, and being locked in a cabin. Neither one is a real life. So what's a boy to do?
He's got to get out. And his plan is, well, it's pretty ingenious. He fakes his own murder. I mean, he goes all out, splatters pig's blood all over the place to make it look like a robbery gone wrong. It's a wild plan, but it works. He breaks free from both his dad and the widow and escapes to Jackson's Island, a little hideaway in the middle of the Mississippi River.
But out on that island, his solo escape mission turns into something much, much bigger. This is where the raft, the river, and an unbelievable friendship change absolutely everything. You see, he's not alone for long. He runs into Jim, who was enslaved by the widow's sister. Jim's on the run because he overheard he was about to be sold down the river, which would separate him from his family forever. So you have these two runaways, both desperate for freedom, but for very different reasons. They decide to team up. The goal? Get a raft and head north to the Free States. And this is where the river becomes a character in its own right. Out on that raft, the Mississippi is like a sanctuary. The rules of the shore just don't apply. They're not a boy and a slave out there. They're just Huck and Jim. It's in the quiet of the river that Huck really starts to see Jim not as property, but as a person, a friend, and even a kind of father figure. But their journey, it goes wrong. Terribly wrong. You can see it here. They start at Jackson's Island, their temporary safe spot, but then they miss their turn at Cairo. Cairo was the goal. It was the town at the mouth of the Ohio River, their route to the Free States. In the fog, they float right past it. And that one mistake sends them drifting the wrong way, deeper and deeper into the slave-holding South, where every mile is more dangerous than the last. And every single time they pull the raft ashore for supplies, Huck gets another brutal lesson in just how uncivilized the so-called civilized world can be. Oh, the people they meet. It's a whole tour of human hypocrisy. You've got the Granger Fords, this aristocratic family locked in a bloody feud over something they don't even remember. Then there's Colonel Sherburne, a man who single-handedly faces down a lynch mob and calls them out for their cowardice. But absolutely nothing compares to a pair of fraudsters they pick up along the way. Meet the Duke and the King. These guys are the absolute worst. They're con artists who basically hijack the raft and proceed to lie and cheat their way down the river. Their worst scheme? Trying to steal the inheritance from a group of recently orphaned sisters. Seeing their cruelty makes Huck sick to his stomach, and it hammers home that the only truly decent human being he knows is Jim. And this quote from Huck just says it all, doesn't it? That's the main lesson he's learning. The more he sees of society and its people, the more he questions everything he's been taught, and the more he values his friendship with Jim. Okay, so all of this, the escape, the river, the awful people, it has all been building to this one single moment. A choice that will define who Huckleberry Finn is forever. In one final act of pure evil, the king sells Jim to a local farmer for $40. Just like that,
Jim is captured and Huck is all alone. His whole world comes crashing down. And he knows what the law, what society expects him to do. He's supposed to write a letter to Jim's owner and turn him in.
So this is the conflict raging inside him. Does he do what his church, his community, and the law all tell him is the right thing to do and betray his friend? Or does he listen to his own heart, defy all of that, and commit what he truly believes is a sin that will send his soul to hell? And that brings us back. After wrestling with it, shaking and crying, Huck picks up the letter he wrote, and he tears it into pieces. He chooses friendship. He chooses his own conscience. He decides to steal Jim back out of slavery, and he accepts eternal damnation as the cost. It is an absolutely heroic moment. But just as Huck makes this profound, incredible, life-changing decision, the story takes a sharp, almost bizarre turn. Who shows up at the farm where Jim is being held? None other than Huck's old pal, Tom Sawyer. Huck tells Tom his plan, that he's going to steal Jim. And to Huck's total amazement, Tom says, "Great, I'll help." But Tom's idea of helping is, well, it's a little different from Huck's. See, Huck's plan was simple. Steal the key, unlock the door, and run. Tom's plan is this absurd fantasy straight out of his adventure novels. He insists they have to do it with style. So they end up trying to dig Jim out with little knives, baking a ladder into a pie, and filling his hut with snakes and rats. He turns Jim's life-or-death struggle for freedom into a selfish, cruel, and completely unnecessary game. And here is the final bitter twist. After their ridiculous plan goes sideways and Tom gets shot in the leg, the truth finally comes out. Miss Watson had died 2 months before, and in her will, she'd set Jim free. Tom knew this the entire time. The whole elaborate, dangerous escape was a completely pointless game, played at Jim's expense. So at the end of it all, Huck learns that his abusive father is dead. He's finally free to go back to a normal life. In fact, Tom's Aunt Sally offers to adopt Huck and civilize him. But after everything he's seen, everything he's been through, that is the absolute last thing on earth he wants. And with these famous final lines, Huck rejects society for good. He's seen what civilization is really all about, and he wants no part of it. His own journey for freedom isn't over. It's only just beginning. And he knows it has to be somewhere far, far away from the world he's left behind. And that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? Huck could escape to the frontier, the territory. But for us today, there aren't any more territories to light out to. So where do we find real freedom? Is it a place you can go to on a map? Or is it something you have to build for yourself, inside your own conscience, just like Huck started to do on that raft? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.